Hi, everybody. I'm typing, answering your questions, so I figured I might as well log on. Thanks for being early. I'm going to answer some questions that are popping in. What about gardening? Is that common? That's not too common, Valentina. I could see that working. Heather, could hand tremors be a good obstacle to write about for a narrative? I'm a violinist. Maybe. The question I would ask is that stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of you? Don't get caught up in the thought that you have to write about a challenge, right? I would say brainstorm some montages just to see. Jude, good morning. Thanks for saying that. It's good. Good morning to you. Can I talk about my connection to Windows because it connects to a challenge of mine and also shows how I change as a person? That sounds interesting. I haven't read a Windows essay. We're doing a montage on different percussion instruments and how they've helped me improve. Maybe. Music is pretty popular, Anastasia, so it could work, but you might try others. Is picking up trash a common topic? Cameron, I would wonder, is it stretchy enough to talk about many different sides of you? I would keep brainstorming. Connecting loving learning language as a hobby to wanting to work in genetics be good? Yes, Emily, that sounds cool. Can you access these live sessions for the rest of the year? Yeah. Can I write about confusion with sexuality, help me to start a branch of a nonprofit in my neighborhood to help others find a sense of community? Yeah. If I have a unique experience that could work as a topic, sure, it depends on the experience. Is hiking the Appalachian Trail a good montage essay? That sounds cool. Oh, good question, Charlie. You sent an email about an idea and reasons behind it. And when can I expect or estimate to hear back from you? Don't expect to hear back. I have 346 other emails like that. And so, as I said, when you sent it, don't expect to hear back. I've chosen about 20 to go over today. Is a deck of cards or a skin condition common? No, not super common. Switching schools is pretty common, Logan. I'm excited you're here too, Allie. Is writing about a permanent health condition a good narrative essay? Depends. Use the narrative side to find out. What email can you reach me at? You can't reach me, Noah. Can I write about the lessons my dad has taught me growing up as a Mexican American immigrant? Yes. But make sure, Camille, that it's more about you than about your dad. Okay? Thinking about combining juggling, solving Rubik's Cubes, and doing puzzles on a montage. That sounds cool, Trent. Can't seem to decide if I should write about my experience at the flea markets as a narrative or montage because both topics apply. I would go montage, Yvonne. I'd like to do camping because it's a family tradition. Is that too common? Somewhat common, but I think it could work. Could writing about how you found love work? How you found love, if it's like about a relationship, I found that really hard to do well. What you've learned from quitting? Catherine, that could be cool. It's kind of a vulnerable topic. I like it. Superstitions in your culture and how they affect you and how you challenge them. Shreya, that sounds super cool. All right, we'll have more time for questions in just a little bit. Hi, good morning, welcome. I'm taking a sip of water to hydrate and to slow down. So, first of all, let's check in. What do you... I kind of asked this one yesterday, but like... you know what? Let me ask this one. This is a more open-ended question. What's alive for you this morning? Feel free to type it in the chat box. We'll leave the chat box on for the first part of this morning, and then we'll turn it off for the lesson part of it, and then I'm going to turn it back on 2 other times because we'll do little Ask Me Anything AMAs. So what's alive for you right now? What's up? How you doing? How you feeling? Let's see what folks are saying. People are asking about their topic ideas, which is fine. We'll get to that as well. What's alive for me this morning? I'm still thinking about the protests that are happening and thinking about what's going on in our country. This cultural moment feels really alive for me. I'm also grateful. I mean, we've got almost 2,000 of y'all on this morning session, and I'm grateful for how many of y'all have shown up to this. We had more than 30,000 students signed up for this. And 2,000 showed up to this third day, so that's pretty good. And then we'll have probably about the same amount to show up to the PM session. You're welcome to come to the PM session. I'm going to be reviewing some more essays and be doing some more kind of Ask Me Anything. Because there are so many students, I'm not able to obviously get back to all the emails because I would just have no life. But I'm glad you're here, and I hope you're learning from this. And I hope to give you some next steps so that you can solve some of these problems on your own. Because that's part of what I wanted to create, is create a to whatever extent possible, a DIY tool. Now, I think it's really good, and I just want to remind you to have somebody in your corner who who you're asking for feedback, whether that's a counselor or a mentor. You can feel free to show them these videos, share them the tool so that they can have context for some of the stuff we're talking about. But I wouldn't recommend having too many people, not 10 people, 1 or 2. You don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen. A lot of you will have questions. A lot of those questions are answered in the FAQ. So just a reminder of where that is. So if you go into the tool and you scroll down, it's right under the workbook, it says FAQ and table of contents. And when you click this page pops up that has the shortcuts, and then you scroll down. And then here's basically I call it shortcuts, but it's really everything. What if my challenges aren't clear? What if the challenges aren't that compelling? Like if it's not a very good challenge, how do I bring more insight into my essay? How do I do openings? All these questions, some of which some of you will ask on the AMA, are going to be answered in the FAQ. So I just want to remind you all to come back here and check this out. And if you have a question, see if you can check and see if it's already answered here, because it might be that it's already there. Cool. One question that comes up sometimes for students is like, which Common App prompt should you choose? And I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to just clarify it for y'all. So the Common App essay prompts, which is what we've been talking about, are these. And you can Google these. Notice how broad these are. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that's so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. Pretty much everything we've been talking about, all the exercises that we're doing through this tool are going to help you find this story. The background, identity, interest, or talent, right? Notice that's connected to kind of those different montage styles. So basically, you can choose prompt 1. Or if you're using the narrative, the lessons we take from obstacles can be fundamental later success. What's the time you faced a challenge? That's the narrative structure. Okay. The rest of these are variations on them. If you can't find one that fits perfect, just use this one. More than half of students use share an essay on the topic of your choice. The reason I don't look at these prompts is because I don't want you all thinking about what do they want and how do I answer the prompts, because for the personal statement, what's most important is that you're revealing values, qualities, skills, interests that you'll contribute to a college campus. So in short, it doesn't matter which Common App prompt you choose for your personal statement. It does matter when it comes to the supplemental essays, which is something that I'm not even going to talk about on this course because it's a whole separate thing. And I want you to focus on your personal statement first, and then you can look at that. If you want to know what I think about the personal statement, and I'll email this to you, but you can look at the College Application Hub. I'll just Google this. College Application Hub, College Essay Guy, and check this out. Just more resources for y'all for the future. Here's a guide to developing a balanced list if you're working on your college list. Some more, and these are the resources for brainstorming that we're going over here. Some more resources for personal statement. If you want more examples, you'll find them here. All this is at collegeessayguide.com/college-application-hub, or you can just click through it on the website. If you're working on supplemental essays like that Why Us essay, an extracurricular activity, Why Major, there's some guides for those. And then when you're working on your activities list, additional info, recommendation letters, your resume, interviews, guides for all of those. How to write scholarship essays, financial aid, what happens if you're rejected from every college you applied to. And I'm going to be adding some more stuff here. There's some guides for stuff for LGBTQ students, undocumented students, applying to art school, athletes, applying abroad. And over the next couple weeks, more guides are going to appear just right in here. This is a good post, LGBTQ. If you identify as LGBTQ, there are maybe 8 or 10 different example essays that might be useful for you. And this undocumented post gets into, should you come out as undocumented in your personal statement or not? And if you do, how do you do it? And there's a podcast connected to that. There's a podcast connected to a lot of these. Let me just show you that since we're on this, because I want to share with you some resources for going forward. If you just go to collegeessayguide.com/podcast, you'll see a bunch of different episodes that I've done on things like, identify how to advocate for undocumented students, financial aid, how to plan your summer, how to figure out which school is right for you, how to research schools. So a lot of the stuff that you'll see in the guide is referenced here. Should you apply early decision or regular decision? What is test optional admissions? This is becoming more and more popular. Just this week, a couple more schools have gone test optional, schools like Dartmouth and Penn. So more on that there. Just a quick summary of what we've talked about so far. So when I started the workshop, I mentioned there were 2 different styles of essay. We've got narrative structure, which is if you faced a challenge. And the way that works is like you talk about the challenge, you talk about what you did about it, and you talk about what you learned, right? So the first third-ish is about the challenge and the effects. It's really important, I mentioned this, but I'll mention it again, to make sure that we get the effects of the challenge. Because if you just say, I experienced parents' divorce or moving to another country or whatever that is, if we don't know how that impacted you, it might blend in with other students writing about that. So make sure that you've got that, and it's in the first part of the essay, and then most of the essay is about what you did about it and what you learned. And we'll look at some examples today. But you definitely don't have to write about a challenge. In fact, many of you, maybe even most of you, will be writing a montage. And a montage is basically, the metaphor I used is identifying what are some different skills, qualities, values, and interests, and then what's a thematic thread that connects them all. And when you go into the montage structure side, I've identified, if you click choose a path, I've identified some different paths for you. So it could be that your thematic thread is something that you love or know a lot about, like animals or frogs or science. Those are all sciencey things. It could be a lot of different things, something that you know a lot about. Or it could be you talk about different objects that are important to you, and or things in your room. It could be that there's a skill or superpower that's really important to you, listening, for example. And how does that connect to different sides of you? A career that you're interested in. Remember that some of these can be combined. So you could do an I love, I know, and combine it with a career, which could be cool. What are some different ways that you identify? What are some different places that you call home? Or what is a place you call home? And how does it connect to different sides of you? And what's an uncommon extracurricular activity? I've mentioned this before, but I don't recommend extracurricular activity as a topic. And if you want to know what are some, because it's pretty common, if you want to know what are some more common topics that I wouldn't necessarily recommend, you'll see a list here. Okay? The most common ones are the big performance essay, anxiety and stage fright, the sports injury, the big game essay, and the stuff related to a trip overseas, a mission trip, someone recognizing their privilege. But these are topics that I would say, I'm not going to say they're 100% off limits, but they are pretty common. And when the reader reads them, they'll be like, okay, another one of these essays. And then the workbook. Let me just show you how this, works. Let me show you what's in here in case you haven't looked through the whole thing. We've gone over these exercises. This is the montage brainstorming. We started with the values exercise. We did these short brainstorming exercises. These are great ones to come back to because you probably haven't answered all of these questions. And it could be, if you're still looking for a topic, that answering one of these questions could really help. Okay? And then outlines. Feel free to delete this, and to use this to create your own idea. Make sure, some of you don't have the topic at the top of your outline. Make sure that you add a little table or add a little thing that names your topic at the top. Because if you just send somebody your chart and you've got all these values, examples, insights, they might wonder, well, what's the thread? What's the thing that's going to connect them all? These are the stickers on my laptop. That'll help clarify it for folks. And this is where you can write your first draft. Some of you have already seen this. Once you write your first draft, I really think it's a good idea to go back and outline a brand new draft based on what you wrote to see what specific values, examples, and insights you want to focus on now. This is also going to help you if you're trying to cut your essay down. If you wrote it super long and you're like, I got to trim it. Once you've written your draft, create a new outline. It's going to help you trim this thing down. Okay? And then write your new draft from the new outline. Don't write your new draft based on the first draft, because oftentimes the way that you said it the first time is good, but it's connected to old ideas. Once you write your second draft, you're going to have some new ideas, new ways that these ideas can connect. So I'd recommend writing a new draft almost from scratch. You can reference the first draft, but I would say starting over it's going to actually save you a lot of time. Don't be married to the first way that even if you did spend some good time on that first draft, that means probably you're a hard worker. But I would say, I just find that when students are married to that first draft, it's better to start afresh. Okay. I highly, highly, highly recommend, no matter where you are in the process, doing some more brainstorming using the 21 details and the everything I want colleges to know about me list. These are awesome exercises for everybody. Okay. Because why? Because a lot of times, and you're going to ask me, is such and such a good topic? I don't know yet. Probably for you, because I don't know. I can tell you if it generally seems like a stretchy topic to me. By stretchy, I mean like, is it going to allow you to talk about different sides of yourself? But I'm probably not going to know that because I don't know what you want colleges to know about you, right? I don't know all these random facts about you. And so the question for you as you're trying to determine your topic, if it's a good topic or not, is one, is it common or uncommon? If it's common, it's going to be harder to stand out. Okay. Not saying you shouldn't, but it's just going to be harder. And then, is your topic stretchy enough to talk about many different sides of you? You might have a really cool idea. You know, someone mentioned pottery right before we started today. Pottery is a really cool idea. Is it stretchy enough to talk about many different values, many different things you want colleges to know about you? If so, that's a good combo, because pottery is somewhat uncommon and it's pretty stretchy, or it might be for you. I'm not saying that y'all should all write about pottery, just responding to that one student. And then the essence objects exercise, we did kind of a short version of it, but if you wanted to spend a little more time on it, here's a little link that you can click for that. Again, narrative structure, if you're trying to figure out, is such and such a good topic for me, run it through the feelings and needs exercise. It'll take you about 10 to 15 minutes. Pause the video when you need to and see if you've got a lot of good stuff, especially in the what I did and what I learned section. This is going to tell you what, the first part of your essay will go, the first third or first half. This is really what colleges are most interested in terms of what you'll bring to their campus. And then here's how to outline it. I walk through this in the tool, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. You're going to outline each section, what I did, or what I challenge, what I did about it, what I learned. You paste it all into one thing, and then boom, you write your first draft. Then, like I said, with the same thing, I want you to go ahead and do a new outline based on your first draft, and then write your second draft, okay? When you're asking folks for feedback, here's some potential templates that you can use, okay? Hey, I'm trying to write a personal statement. I want to show, help me show who I am. This is when you're trying to pick topics. This is if it's a narrative essay. Make sure that, that you copy and paste the whole thing. And then here's if you're asking for feedback on a montage essay. Okay. Quick 2 minutes on should you write about coronavirus. So I'm going to publish a blog on this, and it'll be on my page really soon. But my short answer to this is it depends on your coronavirus experience, like your pandemic experience. If you feel like your life hasn't changed all that much, you may not need to write about it. But if you feel like either your life has gotten worse dramatically, gotten better dramatically, or has been kind of up and down, then I would say it might be useful to write about it somewhere in your application. Now, should you write about it in your personal statement? I don't think so. Personally, I feel like, by the way, if you just Google coronavirus, COVID-19 Common App question, the Common App has added a new question. And it's a 250-word statement where they say, community disruptions like COVID-19 and natural disasters can have deep and long-lasting impacts. If you need it, this space is yours to describe those impacts. Do you wish to share anything or not? Please use this space. The question will be optional, will appear in the additional information section. The response will be 250 words. So you've got 250 words to write about whatever you experienced. Now, notice this. We want to provide colleges with the information they need with the goal of having students answer the question only once while using the rest of the application as they would have before to share their interests. So in other words, we want to give you space, students, to talking about the impacts of coronavirus here so that you can use the rest of your application to talk about whatever else you want. And that's why I haven't focused on coronavirus in this boot camp, because I want you to talk about all the other sides of you and use that 250 word section to talk about coronavirus. Now, if you find that whatever you want to talk about doesn't fit into 250 words, notice that they've got, and they mentioned this here, they've got an additional 650 word section, here it is, that allows you, it's not going to replace the current additional information question. That question, along with its 650 word limit, will remain. If you're worried that you're not going to get my blog, just go to my website really quick, collegeessayguy.com, and make sure that you're signed up for the newsletter, which is like my email. I'm going to blast that out probably next week. And it's going to walk you through different samples. And students haven't written on this, but I worked with a student, and we both sort of wrote up some, like, here are some ways that you could potentially do that with some potential samples. So I would say check that out in a week on the blog. It's like a 9-page guide to how to write about it. Okay, I won't spend a lot of time on it now. All right, homework. Oh, I skipped over this. What your homework was to use module 1, if you haven't found a topic yet, to go ahead and create a few outlines and then pick a topic. If you had one, to go ahead and write a first draft and then to send it to someone for feedback. Again, don't rely on the email address that I sent you. The purpose of me sending you that email address is so that I could get a few of you to send me examples so that I could illustrate certain concepts, which I'm going to do in just a minute. And then if you had a draft, to use module 2 to go ahead and revise it. And then again, to send it to someone else for feedback. Okay, we're 2 minutes behind, but that's okay. So I want to do a little AMA, Ask Me Anything. And I'm going to scroll down on the feed, and I know that other questions have come in, but I might have already answered your question, so I'm going to go with the what's coming in, and I'm going to go kind of fast, just so that I can, answer a bunch of your questions. And we'll do this for about 10 minutes, and then we'll do something else. All right. What prompt do we use for career? It's always going to be 1 or 7, I think, Justin, because they're the most open. I want to become a pro basketball player, but water polo keeps getting in the way. Any advice? Life advice? I don't know. Essay advice? Find something else other than sports. Well, I know what I might say about filmmaking because it's my passion. I've dedicated myself since I was 12. I'm thinking about having a mix of career, identity, and I know. That sounds awesome. Is baking a common topic? Somewhat common, but it could work. Let's see. I'm going to go back to some other ones. Is my ability to learn languages and my passion for it a good essay topic? Yep, that sounds cool, Allison. Where are the FAQs I showed you in the tool? Is writing about game development a common topic? That's not too common. Book review for kids. I'm digging it. Just wanted to say thank you for your amazing advice and mentoring. It's been a life experience. Awesome. Thanks, at USA Chile. My garden's alive. The birds are chirping. Oh, this is this is the, what do you, is the comment stream on, Dev? The Q&A? Would you mind turning it on so that we can get folks? Sorry, what the comment stream wasn't on. I'm turning it on now. While that's happening and where you're putting your questions in, I'll answer some questions from before we started. Are we able to email you and continue the conversation after the workshop? Sorry, Leah, I'm too busy to answer thousands of questions for free. Let's see. Do you think that being part of the Voice Kids and talking about how it changed your life in many ways is a good topic? If it changed your life in many ways, yeah, potentially. That could be cool. Let's see. Other questions. Would writing about reading as a safe place and the values I've learned to comment? I think that could be cool, Nicole. Patrick, what do you think about writing about helping my brother who's autistic and getting through my mother's alcoholism? Make sure, Patrick, that, so again, run it through the narrative, feelings, and needs. Make sure that the essay is more about you. Okay, so if those are the challenges, name those in the first, name maybe the first challenge and then the effects, and then the second challenge and the effects. But I would say always, brainstorming montage idea is not a bad idea. Is writing about music a common topic? Yes. Get more specific than music. Family tradition, collecting ornaments each year and connecting values to them. That could be cool. Is scuba diving an interest that shows privilege? Somewhat, yeah. Is writing about how I'm in my own coming of age movie a good topic? I'm in my own coming of age. That could be interesting. Attending an animation camp be a good topic, or would that show privilege? Somewhat privilege, but it's also kind of an extracurricular activity, Rohan. So I would save it for an extracurricular activity essay, or just make it one part of a montage. How about experience with sports overall across my life instead of one specific sport? Somewhat common, Jack. I think it'll blend in. Should you talk about race? I think so. It jumped down. But I think talking about race can be, especially if it's an important part of your life and it's impacted you in many ways. Yes, go for it. What do you think about America being black and what's happening in America right now? Yes, Ivy, do it. Is writing about the connection between language, coding, and teaching and unifying it with communication good? Yeah, but communication will be somewhat general, Alex. So see if you can find another more specific way to connect them all. Baking, so someone else is asking, connecting how baking helped me develop my love of math and helping and inspiring others. Cool, Leah. You made it a little more uncommon by connecting baking to something that we wouldn't normally associate with baking, which is math. Should I write one essay for all the colleges or 2 or 3 and send out different ones? It's up to you, Joao. So, definitely one essay is the one you're going to submit in the Common App personal statement, but it could be, because you can change your Common App personal statement out and send it to different schools. It could be that you want to send a particular essay to particular schools. That can work. Magdalena, you're welcome. Thanks for saying thanks. Would writing about different traits of cars and how I'm similar to that be common? My question to that one is not, is it too common, but is it stretchy enough to stretch and talk about many different sides of you? Is writing about puzzles, connecting into different things like tech and science a common topic? It's somewhat common, Vanessa. Like I had 2 students and the folks who emailed me write about puzzles, and we'll look at one today. So it's somewhat common. Is being short a common essay? Somewhat, but it could work. Is writing about different musicals common for someone who's interested in engineering and can't sing, dance, or act? That could be cool, Leah. What do you think about writing about my passion for aviation photography? It combines 2 passions, photography and aviation. That could be cool. Is writing about how novels impacted my life in many stages a common topic? It is, Yafet. It's somewhat common. Probably, other folks are writing about book topics, but I think it could work. Bullying, Isha, will be somewhat common. If I want to write about sports, and how it's helped me through moving around. Is that okay? Maybe, Lori. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to see it. Would writing about working with your hands be a good topic for a montage essay? That could be cool, Gabriel. So get really specific with the different ways that you use your hands and make sure that you're showing different values, not just like attention to detail. Is weight loss common? It is, Jillian. It is somewhat common. Is astronomy common? Somewhat. I can kind of rate these on like a 1 to 10 level if you want. And again, not saying that you shouldn't write about it, but just giving you a sense of things. Laser cutting and printing be a good montage essay? That's an uncommon topic. Will it stretch to talk about different sides of you? That's what you need to explore through the outline in the draft. Learning how to sew is somewhat uncommon. Being the dad of the friend group, a good montage topic? That could work, Luna. Could a thread be how certain activities have changed how I think? Maybe, Marcus. It sounds a little bit general, but it could work if you get really specific with the details. I hope this is useful. Could I do an essay about acting, but focusing more on how acting has helped me develop characters and be more creative in my life? That could work, Gage, yeah. Should I write about my 5 moves? Is that enough to be more uncommon? I think maybe, Allie. Yeah, that could be interesting. It's a somewhat common topic, but I'm always interested in a good moves essay, like I'm interested in a good books essay. If you get really specific with the details, it can work. And I'll show you a couple common topics in a few minutes, some that are a little bit general and some that are more specific. So you can kind of see how to make a common topic work. Is the experience of xenophobia common? Do you mean, Emma, that you've experienced xenophobia? I think that could be an interesting challenges essay. If you're talking about you feel xenophobia, that's very unusual and a potentially risky topic, but could be really interesting. How do you avoid repeating yourself in supplemental essays if you choose a montage structure? Great question, Jason. I love that. So what Jason is asking, if you get all of your awesomeness into that personal statement, how do you make sure your supplemental essays aren't going to overlap with what you've already written? And that's part of strategizing your whole application. So look at the super essay blog that I referenced earlier. This is in that college application hub. So college application-hub. Go to where I talk about the super essay, and it'll talk to you about how you can basically create a supplemental essay tracker with all the essays you need to write so you can see what other essays you'll need to write. And once you do that, you can start to see, okay, here are things I'm going to be talking about in other essays. So I may not want to bring that into my personal statement. So what I would say, for example, if you've got a really impressive internship that you did, you may not want to mention the internship in your personal statement because that's going to be a supplemental essay topic. How I love science and singing and didn't know until I realized I loved watching people grow through collaboration and communication. Somewhat common, but could work, Anna. Nate, is writing about my passion for joining the military a common topic? Not super common in my experience. And potentially stigmatized just because people have such mixed feelings about the military, Nate, that I would say getting into like those core values and why it's really important to you could be really interesting. Can talking about a spiritual encounter and addiction to the internet for a narrative be a good topic? Is it common? I would say I would explore some montage ones because describing addiction can be incredibly stigmatized. And I would say it might be tough that might be just really hard. So I would say just try some montages. Not to say you shouldn't, but try some montages so you have some more options. Different music genres, that could be cool. Overcoming autism, a common topic. Not super common, but autism is a somewhat common topic. Let's do a few more of these. Is writing about my passion for helping others and how it sprouted from helping my brother common? Yeah, very common. Will these videos still be available? Yes. Is writing about baton twirling common? That's an uncommon topic. Is it stretchy enough to us to talk about many different sides of you? Is overcoming severe social anxiety an overdone topic? I think somewhat common. Anxiety in general is overdone, and I think social anxiety is somewhat overdone. Is the outdoors a common topic? Somewhat common, but I've read great outdoors essays that I really liked. It's one of those there are some certain ones, books, and this is just one person's opinion, right? So you could ask someone else, and someone else who's read a lot of essays and go, well, I don't think that's a very common topic. And they're going to have a different opinion. I'm just going based on the thousands of essays that I've read. And so it's not nothing, but it's know that just because I'm saying it's a common topic, again, doesn't mean that you shouldn't write about it. It's just going to be a little bit harder to stand out, I think. Okay. Let's talk about how to uplevel your essay. So this is module 3 in the tool. So I'm only going to spend like 5 minutes on this. But just to show you where everything is, when you go to the homepage of the tool, the best place, I think, to find all this stuff is to go down to this FAQ and table of contents. And then scroll down. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So here's your table of contents. And the reason I wanted to show you this, you can obviously access this through the navigation bar, but we've been through, on day 1, we went through brainstorming. On day 2, we went through writing. And now we're talking about up-leveling and, refining when you get there. Most of you are going to be in this brainstorming and writing phase, okay? In fact, probably like 80% of you, maybe 90% of you are going to be in this section because it takes a lot of work and a little bit of luck to find a topic and write a great draft so that you get into the point where you're in the up-leveling stage, okay? And then what I mean by that is like writing a solid second draft. Once you've done that though, let's talk first about the montage. Once you've done that, I want you to get feedback on your second draft. How do you do that? You just email your person, right? Here are some things. I talk about common versus uncommon insights. I talk about ways to, how do you make your essay more insightful? Sorry, I think this is linked incorrectly. This is how to make your essay more insightful. Okay, sorry. This is, I think it was just linked incorrectly. Yeah. Alex, if you're on, will you just make sure that this link goes back to 3.1? I think it's linking to 3.2. Thanks. Okay, just to clarify where you find everything, because I'll fix that link. If you go to the nav bar to get to 3.1, we go to montage. All right, montage. So you're up leveling. Here we go. Getting feedback on your second draft. Great, you've written a second draft. And then you're going to get feedback. Is the topic or thematic thread? If so, great, move on. If not, click here. Are the examples in each paragraph strong, specific, visual? Have you got those values? Have you got those examples? If they're if they need work, click here. Are you happy with your opening? If not, or if you want to get even more clever, there are 7 ideas there. Once you've done that, then we move to 3.2. And I think everyone, no matter what type of essay you're writing, can probably make their essay more insightful. So 19 ways to make your essay more insightful. Check this out. Communication, inspiration. Anyway, you can read this, but there are bunches and bunches of ideas. Don't steal these. These are hopefully just to inspire you. Go through the Montage Outline 2.0, like I said, and create a new outline. Here's some more tips. So this is really like 22 ways to bring more insight into your essay. This is going to really help you up-level it. It's going to, and I'll show you some essays today that are like pretty good, but what's going to set your essay really apart is your level of insight, those so what moments that really surprise us. Okay? Once you've done that, another great exercise to make sure that your essay flows is in here, the flow test. And what you'll see, if you look at this endodontics essay, which I'll just link to for a second, what you'll see is at the beginning of each sentence, the sentence that begins each paragraph is highlighted in bold. One of the ways to figure out if you're like, oh, is my essay flowing or not, is to go and highlight each of the sentences in bold. The first sentences of each paragraph and read them aloud to yourself. And if they connect, then that could be that it's a great, it's really flowing. And I'm going to show you an example of a student who I was like, oh, this isn't quite working. But when they did this flow exercise and they did it in like one day and sent me a new draft, it's flowing a lot better. Okay. Highlight these first sentences in bold and then rewrite the sentences to make sure that the essay does, that these sentences do flow together. The ones in bold. And then obviously you're going to need to rewrite some of the paragraphs. Okay, that's going to be a great way to help make sure your essay is flowing, the flow test, I call it. Okay, here's another example of it. Mijo, ya levántate, se hace tarde. Sometimes you'll find that you need to also highlight the last sentence in bold. We were supposed to open the restaurant earlier that day. Ever since 5th grade, I've been my parents' right-hand man at Honlin Restaurant in our hometown of Hermosillo, Mexico. And then it goes on. There's also tips for like, how do you reorder the examples in your essay to rethink the flow, because it could be that your examples are in the not wrong order, but an order that's maybe not optimal for the flow of the ideas. And so there's a quick, so there's some advice on how to create what I call like a logic flow map. So maybe you want to flow it in terms of curiosity first, and then meticulous, and then dexterity, and then here's how that would sound. Or maybe you want to do meticulousness first, and dexterity, and then curiosity, and then you would have to create a new logic flow for that. This is a really, really powerful exercise for rethinking other possibilities in terms of how are you conveying some of this information. Do you want to start with your strongest example first? Or do you want to start with like a medium level one or a weak one? If it's a weak one, you probably want to change it out and then work up to your strongest example. I would say it's often a good idea to start with your strongest example, but you need to figure out for yourself what is the flow of ideas. Okay. Once you've done that, then it's about writing your next draft. Obviously, and getting feedback from somebody. And then once you've done that, do I want to talk about this next? Let me see what I put on my action items list. Let's go to montage first, or sorry, narrative first. So let me just close all these tabs because I don't need them all open. If you're writing a narrative and you're ready to up level, which is to say you've written your second draft, go ahead and get feedback on your second draft, right? And then once you've gotten that feedback, you're going to want to edit based on this, right? So it's like someone said, hey, is it clear what my challenges are? Yes or no? What are the effects? Depending on this is going to tell you, where to go. So if your challenges and effects needs work, go there. If the what I did about it needs work, go there. If the what I learned section needs work, go there. Okay. And you're just going to repeat this until you feel like it's really working. Once you feel like it's really working, then you can do the flow exercise. Same one that I mentioned, that flow test. But here's a different essay. So instead of the endodontics one, again, notice how the first sentence is. The clock was remarkably slow as I sat, legs tightly crossed, squirming at my desk. My diffidence, which means my shyness, was frustrating. Near meltdown, I knew something needed to be done. This is a student who overcame debilitating shyness. Disillusioned and wrung dry of ideas, I followed my mom's advice and joined a debate club. And notice how each of these sentences, when you read them aloud, connect. If you're wondering, wait, where did he find this? You just go to the narrative path, click Upleveling, and then it's the editing for flow, 3.2 section. So it's 3.2 in narrative. Okay? Once you've done this exercise, which is like rewriting your first sentences in bold, highlighting them, rewriting them, and then rewriting the paragraphs, it's going to probably be flowing better. And then I've got some tips for writing your next drafts, which are here. Good writing is rewriting. This is kind of a short section. Okay, so just to go back to the home page. This is going to take you like a few weeks. Okay, just getting through those modules. Once you're ready, which is to say, your montage essay is uncommon and it's stretchy. It doesn't need to be uncommon, but it's awesome when it is. You've written a bunch of drafts. It's clear what the values are. It's clear what the examples are, showing their specific insights, all those things. Then you can move into the refining section, which is to take the Great College Essay Test. I obviously needed to trim my beard here. The Great College Essay Test is going to walk you through what I believe are the 4 qualities of a great essay. You're going to be familiar with them already because I've talked about them a lot in the tool. I'm not going to talk about them even now, but you'll be familiar with them. And there's a little method that you can use for evaluating if your essay is doing its job. What is its job? To make sure you're showing values, skills, qualities, and interests. And then, and only then, do you move to polishing and grammar. 2 of my favorite ways to do this, my favorite free resources, the Hemingway editor, and then Grammarly. You can put it through those. Do you need to put it through those now? Not really. You need to figure out if the topic is awesome, if the structure is working, if your examples are specific and clear and demonstrating values. Don't worry about grammar and word choice right now, in my opinion. And then you're done. Okay, so that's for montage. Narrative is similar, right? So if you're working on a narrative essay, you've written an awesome draft where the challenges and effects are really clear. We really get a sense that you've done a lot of stuff about it, and we get some clear insights at the end, what you've learned from the experience. And someone has read it and they're like, yeah, this is going great. Then you click refining. Again, you'll go through the Great College Essay Test. You'll go through polishing and grammar, Hemingway editor, Grammarly, and then you're done. Okay? That's my quick preview of what's coming up, Module 3 and Module 4. We are precisely on time. I'm so relieved and happy and excited. Okay, so I'm going to spend 20 minutes right now giving you feedback on topics, outlines, and drafts based on the 400 people who emailed me. I chose 10. And I chose them randomly. It was like when I logged in yesterday, I just picked randomly. I'll do more in the PM session. If you're worried, anyway, I probably emailed you if you're, never mind. Oh, some general notes. I'm super proud of you all from the work you're doing. I mean, it's really amazing to see hundreds of potential topics and viable essays in a week. I have no idea what percentage of you have been able to find topics yet. I'm going to send a feedback request form. My request to you, because this was a free workshop, is to please fill out the feedback request form because I need to know how this is going for y'all so I know how to tweak it and make it better for you and for students in the future. So this is just my plea right now. I'll probably record a little video and send this out next week, but please respond to the feedback request. It's your way of thanking me for all this free stuff. And I want to encourage you to continue holding your topics lightly. I don't want you to get so attached to one right now because it's the first one you found that you're not open to potentially changing it, letting it evolve. So if your montage idea isn't super uncommon yet or stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of you, you're super creative. And there are a bunch of resources in here. You can come up with other ideas. Okay. So stay adaptable, stay active. And if the narrative, if you feel like the challenge might be super common or maybe isn't, again, able to talk about all the different sides of you, potentially explore other topics. The other thing I want you to hold lightly is my opinion. I don't want you to think that just because Ethan, who's the college essay guy, which by the way was just because I decided to name myself the college essay guy, is like the be all end all source on this. Just because I give you advice doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Okay? I mean that. And just because someone else gives you advice, same thing, right? This is your essay. You get to decide. Now, I think it's important to have good reasons for why you're picking something, but trust yourself, okay? Get advice, but then ultimately this is your call, okay? So just hold my opinions lightly. Don't think, oh, Ethan said such and such, I shouldn't do that. Just know that Ethan said this, and maybe I should consider other options. That's all. And then again, having a couple people help you through this is a great thing. Don't rely on, hoping that Ethan, and we're kind of, you can feel free to like still share your outlines with with that email address that I sent you, because I'm curious to see how these things evolve, and you can keep editing those docs, because I will from time to time pop in, but don't rely on me to be your feedback person. Find somebody else who can do that, or another student, another, a peer or something like that. All right. So let's take a look at this one. Okay. So I think this is a good topic. Make sure in your draft that you don't spoil the ending. So here's what I mean by this. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who your name is, but I'm going to call you M right now. The essay begins, I've led a privileged life, wonderful childhood full of great memories and love. Blessed I was given everything I needed to become successful. Grew up with a teen mom, an absent father, in a low-income neighborhood. We relied on government assistance. My mom worked multiple minimum wage jobs. So this is clear. The challenge, what I like about this is you're making the challenge really clear in the opening paragraph. I know that doesn't sound like your usual story of a privileged life, but it was for me. My upbringing has prepared me for life. It's maybe been the building block that motivated me and inspired me. Now, here's what I mean, is this kind of tells me that everything's going to be okay in the essay. And so what this does, as I read this, is I'm like, oh, she's going to be fine. And so if we're trying to like get the reader interested in like what's going to happen, what are the challenges, how does she overcome them, this kind of dispels the potential suspense and tension. And this is also true for any montage essay that spells out this, whatever thing is you're talking about, has taught me lessons of discipline, hard work, perseverance, whatever the values are that you're going to demonstrate. Don't give them away at the start. Save that for the ending. You know how I talked about what you learned? Right now, though, what you learned is in the opening. I want to encourage you, Em, to put the what you learned down later in the essay. Okay? So I would say keeping this could be interesting. Okay? So I would say I'm going to highlight this because I think keeping this could be cool. The other stuff, this is what I've learned, right? That I'm privileged. This is what I've learned. Privileged. Save that for the ending. So my question for you is, could there be some other way to like bring us into your story? A particular moment, a particular experience that typifies what it was like growing up with a teen mom and absent father in a low-income neighborhood. The other things that I want to know about from you in order to stand up, because there will be other students who have grown up in low-income neighborhoods, who've had absent fathers or had teen moms. What were the effects on you? My mom worked a lot of long hours and nights. That's one impact, right? That's mom. She was a child herself. I learned at a young age to be self-reliant and how to survive. This is what you did about it. But in between these things, what the effects, like what mom and what you did about it, what I want to know and more about is what were the impacts on your life? Okay? Give me more of those, and that's what's going to help your essay stand out even more. Okay? And then expanding on what you did about it, what you learned, is going to be really important. Okay? You're off to a great start. I think this is a really solid topic for you. Keep going. You're doing great. Okay. Here's another essay. This was an identity essay. And this is from Adrian. Thank you, Adrian, for sharing. Since I was 8 years old, I've had the nickname Flecha, arrow in English. So this is an identity essay, and it's based around this nickname. My name's Adrian. I was born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico, and I've played American football since I was 7. My coach baptized me with the nickname Flecha. He said I attacked like an arrow. At first, I didn't like it so much, and some people called me that in the sense of making fun of me. But I've come to realize that my nickname Flecha applies to many aspects of my life, and I truly feel proud and identified by it. There's another one, Adrian. If you're from Mexico, I don't know if you've heard the phrase "tira flecha," which is a racial slur. I don't assume, but when I heard that, I was like, this is interesting because the word flecha, and I don't know if that's why you were offended by it, could connect to that thing. So I'm not saying, oh, you should definitely put that in your essay, but it's something that occurred to me. And when you mentioned you were called flecha and made fun of, was that a part of it? I don't know. But what I love about your essay is the arrow is a symbol of thought, intuition, analysis, and decision, and represents the quick perception and reaction needed to hit a target. And for me, developing these skills has been a joy. I mean, that is such a solid topic sentence, Adrian. I'm loving this. Being in a tense debate room. Notice how Adrian really quickly is like, boom, here's how this connects to another side of me. Feeling the pressure. Being in a football war room. Another example of how you've had to develop this. In a physics class. Boom, look how many different sides of himself Adrian's able to work in here. Being in a different country. All places where he's had to use thought, intuition, analysis, and decision-making skills. Also, the arrow represents accuracy, another cool quality. Security in its trajectory, strength in its impact. It reaches a determined target and never slows down until it hits it. Actually, it does slow down. And then here are some examples of that. Several extracurricular activities from books and as a sports player. Maybe get a little bit more specific. You're really specific in here, Adrian. Could you get more specific in how accuracy has done this for you? But I wanted to just do a little bit more attention on this one because I think this is working really well. It's really specific, and it's an uncommon topic. Overcoming human conditions, symbol of fate. I think fate, especially in reference to God, I think might be somewhat controversial because the reader's going to have maybe a different opinion about how fate relates to God. And it's also somewhat abstract. And so I would say bringing in and making sure that it's really clear how you've been able to develop certain qualities and using those specific details to show examples, I think will be the strongest. So for me, the strongest paragraph is this one. I would say use this kind of as a model. And this is a good note for everyone. It's got an uncommon thread, right? Lots of specific examples of how these qualities that you've identified connect to different sides of you. Super awesome. I would say you could use this format, Adrian, and this is for everybody, to write your other paragraphs, to revise these 2 paragraphs below. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Take a look at another one. So my notes on this one were, my family's 3-song tradition. Okay. I want to make sure that the reader understands what your topic is because I didn't get your topic until the end. And so I felt a little bit lost. So here we go. You already clarified it. So I emailed this author, this student, and I said, can you make sure that you clarify the topic early on? And then this author clarified, every birthday, my family and I sing the birthday song 3 times. My 2 brothers and dad station themselves on the couch as mama's phone chimes at the start of a recording. My grandma, Yima, carefully walks the table, homemade cake in hand, and gingerly sets it down. Following a collective inhale, we count down from 3. Happy birthday to you. Singing in English comes first. And then here are the Ode to Life in America. Okay. Whispers in My Life. And this is all these different aspects that connect to this song. Great. I love it. Sana Helwa Ya Jamil. We now harmonize a second time. Same lyrics in Arabic, the mother tongue of my parents. I'm getting goosebumps. Oh, wow. Culture is coming in here. I love this. The second song conjures images of community and serving others. I'm getting tears in my eyes. In Islam, we're taught that growing one plant will reap the rewards of all that we take from it. Love it. I mean, the reason I'm loving it is these 2 things that I've mentioned. 1, it's an uncommon topic. And 2, it's stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of you. And then the third one, I don't know how to pronounce this. Joyeux anniversaire. Savor the. Now I'm not fluent in French. Obviously, I'm not either. My raised voice, what does this connect to? Hispanic woman stood nearby. She greeted me in Spanish. We discussed everything. I would say talking about a single moment. What is the, like talking to people of other races to demonstrate cultural values? I would go a little bit deeper here. And also, I think you're talking about going to a nail salon. So this shows privilege in a way that might not be awesome. So interacting with folks on a more, talking about your friends who are multicultural and what you've learned from them might be better than just talking about people that you've walked by on the street or that were doing, performing a service for you. You feel me? So I would say I would work on this paragraph. But these other 2 are super solid. I'm loving what you're laying down. Let's see. Another one. Here's a common topic that I think it might be useful to continue exploring some other topics. So let me scroll down. I love that you filled all this in blue. It was easy for me to look at your brainstorm. Ever since I could talk, singing has always drawn an interest from me. So singing is a common topic. What I'm looking for as I'm scanning is, are there specifics that would set you apart from other students? In particular, are there sentences in here that no one else could write? You know, so as I grew older, I sang more with the help of singing lessons, and I got better and eventually became really good. So this will be a sentence that will be common to many singing essays, right? And I'm just, so the quality of perseverance is going to be a common quality. And then piano is going to be another common instrument. So in short, and then even guitar, I like that you're talking about different instruments, but these phrases, like, even though I've been knocked down in life and been faced with challenges, I've always been able to come back from the challenge and pick myself back up. That's going to be something that many of the students who are writing narrative essays would be able to put in their essay, right? So the more specific that you can get with your details. So two notes is, one, can you find potentially a more uncommon topic? And can you get, or if you want to stick with this, can you get really specific with your examples? And basically the advice I'll give to you and to everybody is, if you have any sentence that you feel like someone else could have written, delete it. Find another way to say it. Okay. Here's another one where I feel like the topic might be not capturing all the awesomeness of who you are. Now, I don't know, and this is Hannah, I don't know all the awesomeness of who you are, but I imagine you're pretty awesome, and I know some of what your awesomeness because I've looked at your outlines. Action, a glamorous film set with an explosion only to be waited at a command. And a high schooler, inexperienced teenager. So this was the experience of working on, if you can, I'm kind of fast forwarding, but creating and refining a script for an episode and basically creating a film in the Bay Area. So while this could work, Hannah, it feels like it's somewhat of an extracurricular activity essay. So I don't think you should scrap this essay altogether. I think this could be a cool one for when they ask, like, what's an extracurricular activity that's been important to you and what have you learned from it? It could be really great. But I wonder if it's stretchy enough to talk about many different sides of who you are. I get some qualities in here, but my advice would be to continue brainstorming other topics, other potential personal statement topics, other potential montages, because an extracurricular activity sometimes is somewhat limited. Okay, that's my quick 3-minute advice. Oh, and the other thing I'll say is, this is for the last 2 essays that I've looked at. Hard work and perseverance are qualities for you, Hannah, and for the other student that are probably going to be available and obvious from your GPA and your activities list. So if you've got a really solid activities list that's got lots of different things that you've done that show hard work, and you've done them for lots of hours, or you've got a GPA that's above a 3.5, they're going to know that you work super hard. Not to say that if your GPA is below 3.5 that you don't work hard, but I find it's often that students who are already demonstrating hard work in other areas that still want to demonstrate hard work. Okay, here's a common topic that's a little bit more specific. So this is from Olivia. The Scholastic Book Fair. Did y'all have these? I remember having the Scholastic Book Fair, and I could never afford anything as a kid. It was the most incredible thing in the world. Imagine it. For a week each year, my elementary school was invaded by gracious rulers. They set up a gleaming fortress with bookshelves piled around my school. Oh, wow, they even came to your school. That's amazing. For us, we just had the little thing, and we had to like fill out the order form. Flung my backpack in the direction. Can you see where this is going? I've loved words since before I could read. Somewhat common topic, but notice the specifics, y'all. It opens with the Scholastic Book Fair, which, you know, someone else is probably not going to write this sentence. The Scholastic Book Fair was the most incredible thing in the world. You know, now this, maybe someone's going to say this, but I'm okay with it because she's already got me in with something more specific. And then notice the different books, the Penderwicks. What did it reveal? Emphasis on family and treated young women as diverse and conflicting group of people that we are. Woo! Yes! I get tears just reading that. And I loved it because my sisters loved it. This is great. What a lovely insight, Olivia. I really get a core value. I just want to comment on the side and be like, core value is super clear through the way you phrase this. And so the reason I'm spending more time on this one right now, y'all, is this is an example of a common topic that's done really well, from what I can tell so far. I'm just skimming it, but so the next one is Jane Eyre. So I don't know if you can cut some of this stuff maybe, because I want to know get to the values and insights as much as you can. I'm no bird and yet ensnares me. I'm free. So what did they thought? Okay, so you identified with this. And in these words, I saw an author who understood what my experience was like. What was your experience? Okay, so what I want from this, Olivia, is I want to know, you can trim, I think, this to, and this is what you'll do in your new outline, is like, what do I want them to know about me based on so I read this line in Jane Eyre, which was this, and how did this connect to you? Because I don't know you yet. I don't know what this is. I'm a free with an independent will, and why this spoke to you so readily. So give me more about you and less about Jane Eyre. Does that make sense? Collected poetry of Sylvia Plath. Great. The Bell Jar. Cool. Yeah, I read The Bell Jar, and it was had a big impact on me. I took a whole class. This is how nerdy my performance studies education was. I took a whole class in The Bell Jar. You can also see, by the way, this is a bias that I have. Like, I like books essays. That's just a personal thing. You don't have to, like the same things I like. And if you ask somebody else, will they like a books essay? I don't know. Will people not like books essays? It's hard not to like a books essay, but maybe. Pieces of me. I don't know as I skim this that I'm getting a clear sense of what are the values and the insights. I like you mentioning these. Talking Heads, Lizzo, Mary Oliver, and Sappho. Cool name drops. These are all really cool people. But what do I learn about you? So I want you to see if you can clarify and strengthen for Olivia. The way that you do in here, this insight is what I'm looking for. I really love this. Can you bring in like 3 or 4 more of these that give me a sense of what these different things, how they impacted you? Okay. Here's a more uncommon topic. Let me do a quick time check. 10:53. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do a break in like 2 minutes. Here's an uncommon topic that has lots of details. This is from Ethan. Hello, other Ethan. It's a scorching Sunday afternoon in the summer of 2019. I'm standing in an open field wearing a full-body nylon jumpsuit. What? With my eyesight rendered almost useless by the sweat-caked mesh covering my face, I instead decide to employ my other senses. I love this because we have no idea what's going on. I smell pollen and grass and wildflowers, things I find comforting, and even if my seasonal allergies would disagree. I hear the singing of birds, the rumble of farm equipment, and lastly, an indication of my soon-to-be adversaries, the droning of 60,000 angry bees. What? I'm in. Raises all kinds of questions. What is this guy doing with around 60,000 angry bees? The next word answers it: beekeeping. So this is an uncommon topic. If you haven't done beekeeping, I'm not saying you have to have an uncommon topic, but I'm just demonstrating what tends to draw our attention. And then what you'll notice in this essay is there are many different sides of him that he shows, and I won't spend a ton of time on this. I just want to say, so like taking on beekeeping as an engineering challenge as well as a hobby. One of my early tasks was designing a label for the honey jars Dad sold from a counter in the gallery. Cool. Soon I was finding a way to make the honey extractor stop rattling or trying to minimize cold airflow in the hives during the more windy months. So we're seeing certain qualities of engineering, right? We don't know what the student wants to do yet, but we're maybe making some guesses and making some connections, right? This demonstrates that quality of like meticulousness or like solving problems. And then there's a whole paragraph on the cultivation of honey and how it's a perfect symbiosis between humans and bees. Do you hear how this is like a little bit more specific and the values are really coming through clearly? So there's the responsibility of ripping thousands of dead bees from their hives with a power washer. I contemplated this unique responsibility. This isn't the value of reflection. Okay, I was reminded of the vaporization imprints in Hiroshima, or perhaps the haunting body casts of ancient Pompeii citizens. So connecting to history, and there's like moral and ethical questions, like what are we doing here, and what is my responsibility, right? So bigger picture questions, and then connecting that even to the COVID-19. Like this is, if you want to work in I'm getting goosebumps, working COVID-19 into your essay, into a beekeeping essay, that's some next level stuff. Ethan, you're doing great. I don't have a ton of advice for you right now, except to, like I've said to other folks, keep making sure your values and your examples are short, are succinct and clearly stated, and then developing some of these insights. You're going to do great. And email me to let me know what school you end up with. I think that you're going to. I have this feeling you're going to end up at a liberal arts school. I don't know what's making me think that. How to trim a narrative essay. Okay, so one thing, and I'll do this one, and then we'll take a little break. One thing that students sometimes wonder, take a look at the length of this. This is from Caroline. I'm not going to go over this whole essay, but it's 4 pages. So here's what I'll say to you, Caroline, and this is for anybody who needs to trim them. One thing you can do is like take your phone and turn the voice memo on, and after you've written your draft, tell your story to yourself. So you hit record and you go, okay, so my story, and you can look at this, but you don't have to because you've already written your story. You already know it. My story is about how growing up, I was really shy, and I was so shy that I had to like go to the bathroom I couldn't even ask to go to the bathroom, and I couldn't get like ketchup packets. And then I tried all these things and they didn't really work. I tried this and I tried debate, or I tried joining book clubs and that didn't work. And then I joined debate. So what you've heard me just do is I kind of just, as I'm telling this story, I'm kind of speaking in chunks. And what that's going to do is tell you what the different scenes of your movie are, or of your paragraphs of your essay. So the first scene of this movie might be, okay, so my challenge was da 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 da. And then I tried to do all this stuff and I failed, like to overcome it. And then I joined debate, third paragraph. So you can kind of hear, dum, bum, bum. What you do is you play this back for yourself. And as you're listening to yourself, create the scenes of your movie, which is to say like the big chunks. And each one of those will create a different paragraph. What might happen if you do this, Caroline, is that you find that you have 13 chunks. Okay. This is a screenwriting technique called writing a treatment. You're basically writing a treatment for your essay, which is like, here's my paragraph by paragraph bullet point version of my essay. And what you'll see is you'll be like, okay, paragraph 1 and paragraph 2 are basically doing the same thing, right? It's basically making the same point. So that'll give you a note. You can probably like do those in just one. But I don't want you, this is really important, especially for you, Caroline. I don't want you to take these 4 pages and try and like, do a copy and paste, what I call a Frankenstein version of your essay, where you take these parts from the old dead essay and then move it into like the new live essay and try and write words to stitch them together. It's going to feel kind of choppy. So now that you've written your first draft, awesome, love it. Go create right underneath this, create your new outline. Okay, and again, you can do this by recording yourself, or you can just talk to somebody else and have them type the bullet points for you, and then figure out which bullet points you want to cut. It might be that you just have too many bullet points. Okay, so once you've done that, you'll have a new outline. Once you've got your new outline, figure out, okay, do I want to reorder anything? Is this the most interesting order for these events? Do I want to take this thing that happens like 6th and like make it first, right? Or do I want to just cut 1 through 5 and just start with bullet point 6 and then tell the rest of the story? Keep in mind, Caroline, we're working for that 1/3 challenges and effects, 1/3 what I did about it, and then 1/3 what I learned, as much as you can if you're writing about challenges, okay? And the module 2 will help you revise those sections. But this is for anybody who's trying to cut, even if you're only like, so that was 4 pages, even if you've got like 2 pages or a page and a half, which is going to be a little bit long, create your new outline, because that's going to help you clarify for yourself what it is that you want to do in each paragraph. It's kind of like, if you ever remember those like DVDs, when you get a DVD and you see all the chapter titles for like each of the scenes, the movie, you're kind of labeling the chapter titles. Like chapter 1, Nemo and family, happy family. Chapter 2, the shark attack, right? That barracuda attack. Chapter 3, going to school, right? This is the movie Finding Nemo. I don't know if these are literally the chapters, but these are the scenes as I remember them, the chunks of the movie. Okay, that's going to be really good. Whether you're, like I said, whether you're writing a narrative essay or whether you're writing a montage, especially even for you, whose essay I just read, Ethan. No, is it Ethan? No, I don't. Anyway, I think it was whoever wrote the beekeeping essay. That's going to be good to like re-clarifying your outline. What I often say that like you write the first outline, you write your first draft just to create the new outline. Okay. All right. Let's take a little break. I left a little wiggle room in here. To take a short bio break. Let's make it a 2-minute break. Then we'll only be 1 minute behind, which is nice. And you can feel free to get some water, run to the restroom, whatever you need to do. I'm going to just stand up and do those things, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay. So I want to take a minute to talk about what I love about this process. And I want to hopefully, if you're feeling at all stressed right now, I want to hopefully offer some context. If you're feeling stressed about like not finding a topic yet, it's probably because you had expectations that you would find a topic. And I just want you to know that many students haven't found their topics yet. And also, this thing isn't due for months. You got so much time. Okay? So if you're feeling stressed about that, you've got time. The second thing I want to say is, like, if this feels hard, if this feels like hard work, I want to say that, like, I feel like it's worth it. Now, why? This process, when you're writing your life, and someone mentioned early on, and I think on the first session, that it's amazing how fast you're being asked to come up with like huge insights about yourself. Yeah. And I'm not holding any expectations about you coming up with those realizations this week or today. But the more you stay engaged in this process, I think the more you'll learn about yourself. And so if you're frustrated because you've thrown out 2 ideas already, that's okay. I'm resisting the Thomas Edison thing because Thomas Edison, but finding all these ways to not make a light bulb before you actually find how to make a light bulb. So I'm just meta making that reference. But in short, these ideas that you're throwing out, each one of these, it doesn't mean that you're like starting from scratch each time. Each one is hopefully bringing new values and new insights and new possible gems that you can bring in. Maybe not to your personal statement, but to other parts of the application, or big picture, that are going to teach you things about your life and about what's important to you. One, I think that's useful just for like understanding who we are, because I hold that personal growth is important. It's maybe inevitable, but I think that it's really important. And this is one of my favorite processes for doing that, for like growing as a human. But also, if you want to link it to like practical things, when you're interviewing, whether it's you're interviewing for colleges or you're interviewing for jobs, when someone asks you, tell me your story, or what do you tell me about you, you're going to be able to do that if you've gone through this hard work. So I want to encourage you to like just continue reinvesting and re-engaging with this process to try and figure out what are those different sides of yourself. Because maybe it could be that you're thinking about some of this stuff for the first time. Also, you're probably writing about this for the first time, so be easy on yourself. Okay? If you're looking at some of these essays and you're like, wow, that's amazing, it's probably because a student has, 1, worked really hard, 2, happened to get lucky with an interesting idea, and then 3, maybe a writer, somebody who's spent a lot of time reading and writing, and so they've put in a lot of hard work leading up to this, and that's what's getting them to a place where they can more quickly produce something that's impressive in this way. You'll get there. I find that the students that end up writing some of the best essays aren't necessarily the best writers, but they're the ones that are the hardest workers. So I just want to make that push for potentially for hard work. Some of the exercises are short, but if you take a little bit more time with them, like I asked for you for do this for 7 minutes, but if you spend longer, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that work can potentially pay off. And again, I think this is worth it. I've had students tell me when they go through these boot camps that sometimes can be a healing process. If there's a challenge you face, for example, and you're not sure if it's going to be a good personal statement topic, I think it can still be useful to write about it, okay? Because just finding out about what that meant to you, processing that experience, it can be therapeutic. Even if nobody ever looks at it, even if you never share it with anyone, just writing about what that was like for you can be a relief. And if you've never written about these things, especially. Some students do this automatically through journaling. So yeah, I just wanted to offer a little perspective. If you have other things that are stressing you out, again, I just want to invite you. You've got so much time and you've got a lot of resources. A lot of the resources, just to show you again, for answering any of the other questions that you have are going to be found on this College Application Hub. Okay? A lot of your frequently asked questions. So just to clarify again, in terms of resources going forward, in terms of questions about the personal statement, a lot of them are answered here in this FAQ page. Okay? You can find that answers there. And if you've got questions about any other parts of the process, you can probably find them here. If you can't find it, and please make sure that you have, I want to invite you can email us through the website, help@collegeessayguide.com. But we've only got one person answering those emails. Ashley has been just crazy swamped because, again, 30,000 students. And plus the counselor's emailing her. Not everybody's emailing her, obviously. But just give her a couple days to get back to you, and she will. The other thing I want to say to you, because you've made it this far, is some of you identify as low income. And if you identify as low income, I want to introduce you to this Matchlighter Scholarship. So what this is it's free application help for low income students. And if you want to apply for this, all you have to do is click Students, and you fill out the application. But basically, I put this together when I was just getting a lot of requests for help from students, and I couldn't help everyone. but I wanted to, help some number of students. So I put the word out to a group of counselors, and I said, hey, would anybody be willing to work one-on-one with a student? And where it came from initially was a student who emailed me and said, hey, I come from a single parent household, I've had financial struggles, please light a little match. And I was like, that's how the match lighters got its name. But basically it includes 2 hours of helping you develop your college list, because sometimes students need some advice on what schools to apply to, and then at least 4 hours of one-on-one essay help. And the other thing that we're adding is like some coaches that from my team are also going to be volunteering with students. And I've got about 300 counselors who volunteer for this, but we've only got about 50 spots left. So if you've made it this far, which is to say you've watched all the way through this boot camp, now's the time. That tells me that you're motivated. If you are a low-income student, just click this link. In fact, Dev, would you just throw that into the chat box? It's on delay, so he hasn't heard me say that. Actually, I'll just throw it in the chat box right now. Thanks. It's disabled right now, but we'll just throw that link in the chat box. Dev, you can go ahead and open up the chat box now. What's that? We can go ahead and open up the chat box now. We can go ahead. Will you open up the chat box? Thanks. So, and Devin will link that so you can apply for that. But I would apply for that ASAP because those spots will fill up. Okay. The other thing I want to say to you, and I'm over time now, but it's okay. We're going to move into Ask Me Anything in just a second, is the next steps for the process are to continue using this tool. You're going to have access to this. Okay. So I want you to use this tool, depending on where you are in the process. Are you brainstorming? Are you writing? Are you up-leveling? Are you refining? If for some reason you're watching this video, by the way, and you don't have access, you have to get access through your counselor. So if I just want to mention that if you've happened upon this video somehow, just email your counselor and say, hey, because there's no opportunity right now for students to just individually get this. So let your counselor know. But wherever you are in the process, there's a section for you. Okay. So like I said, you're probably going to spend a lot of time in the next couple of weeks in this module right here, just revising, and getting feedback. Okay. And then you might be using the editing for flow section. And then once it's all done, then you do the Great College Essay Test. But nobody that I've seen so far is at the point of using this refining section here, which is section 4. It's not labeled 4, but we'll add the 4 there. So yeah, so that's what I got. All right, we've opened up the chat box. Let's zoom down and see what you got. Great boot camp. You're welcome, Noah. How did I get into the college essay world and become the college essay guy? There's I do a podcast on that, Noah, about how I got into this, but the short version is that I wanted to be a screenwriter, really loved telling stories, and I studied screenwriting and storytelling and theater in college, and then my best friend and I moved out to LA, and I got a job helping students with their essays, and it was just so much more fulfilling. So the longer version is if you just go into my podcast and click on the one that's using the secrets of screenwriting to write your college essay. William, is it a bad idea to include a touchy hobby, firearms? How would that look to a college? Maybe, William. It's a pretty stigmatized thing, particularly right now. And so, yeah, I think it would be tough. I've seen students write really interesting hunting essays where they killed for food and then dressed the meat, and that was a part of their family tradition and culture. But I've also seen hunting essays not done well. So, would relating different parts of the podcast I run to different values work? Yeah, especially if you want to major in broadcast journalism, Jack. That sounds awesome. Would writing about overcoming dyslexia would be common. It's somewhat common, Isabel, yeah. Avatar: The Last Airbender, somewhat stigmatized, right? Just like Scooby-Doo. The Cheers essay was really hard to do, Claire. So those of you who are writing about TV shows, it's hard to do well. And Cheers is kind of cool because it's a little bit, it's like an 80s show, and it's kind of old school in a way that, Scooby-Doo and Last Airbender is maybe more associated with kids just because they're animated. So Robert asks, is it possible to mix narrative and montage structures? Yeah. In fact, let me show you an example. I think I have it here. Here we go. This is I was going to go over this in the afternoon session, but I'll just show you right now. So, identity method, being a Korean adoptee in a white country facing stereotypes and profiling, identifying as white, being called Chinese, ethnicity as a whole, ethnicity being mistaken on the PSAT, then the ACT, learning more about my Korean heritage, what this shows about me. So this is obviously a long outline, and you can see, whoops, it's just the draft has just started. But what you've got here is you've got elements of identity, Korean identity, that the student is writing about. But along the way, you've got little challenges, you know, stereotyping, bullying. And Hannah, what I would say for this is I would say decide if this is going to be narrative or montage as your main thing. In other words, in the way that would sound, let me just close this for a second so you can just, so the way that might sound is like, if it's narrative, just go, do I want this mostly to be about overcoming the stereotypes, you know, and then what I did about it and what I learned? If that feels like it's too limiting, then you could do a montage, which set up what the clear lens is, you know, identity, or, you know, being Korean, you know, identifying as Korean American isn't easy, you know, something that's kind of a cheesy opening, but then we know that that's about the struggles related to that challenge. So just make sure, or sorry, that theme, make sure that you identify whatever the topic is at the start. Another example of this was a student who wrote an essay that was basically a career essay about what she wanted to, you know, study, which was to become a doctor. But she started off talking about cooking and how that shaped her. And then in the middle of the essay, so it was ostensibly like a cooking essay demonstrating the different sides of her. And then in the middle, she describes a challenge where she was in an internship and felt like she was really out of her league. And she had to like overcome that. And describing how she overcame that was like a mini narrative inside of a longer montage. So that's another way to do it. So you could go narrative, where it's like challenges, what I did about it, what I learned, but have little montage elements in between, which I know that's confusing, but basically it's like, are those three main chunks of your essay? And are you including, like actually an example of this, the with debate essay that I showed you earlier. Let me just show you where that is. So the editing for flow in the narrative path. Here's an example of a narrative essay that's mostly about the challenge of overcoming shyness, which she talks about here, and here are the effects of her on her. But inside this, she says, near Melton, I knew something needed to be done. Here's a montage. All the stuff she did to overcome her shyness. Recreational art classes ended in 3 boring months. Gave up self-defense after embarrassing myself in class. After-school band, library volunteering, book clubs ended similarly. This is a mini montage. All these different images of stuff she tried in order to overcome her shyness. What is the quality it demonstrates? Trying stuff. You could call it perseverance, but that's kind of I wouldn't name it. I was perseverant, you know, to use a Shakespeare pronunciation. You know, this is a mini montage, right, within a larger challenges-based essay, because it basically starts with, here are the challenges, here's what I did about it, join debate, here's what I learned. At the end, here's so what. So anyway, it can definitely work. Thanks for asking that. Let's see. Is writing about promoting women in tech a good topic? Yes. I'm an international student. Is migration and xenophobia a common topic? Yes. Let's see. Zooming back up. Does skimboarding sound like a privileged topic? Somewhat. Is it okay to have a paragraph about extracurricular activities in your montage essay? Maybe. It just depends on, are they connected to clear values? Like in the example I just showed, it was connected to the value of trying stuff that didn't work in an effort to overcome her shyness. And so she kind of undercuts it. So rather than bragging, she's like vulnerable, and then she's like, here's all this stuff that didn't work for me. Let's see. Is an outward bound a good essay topic? I wouldn't say it is, Josh, because it's a pretty common, it's an extracurricular activity and it's a pretty common one. Would writing about game development be better? It might be too one value focused, possibly. Identity. Could a color essay work? In Italian, my name means white and I want to show my values through this color. Bianca, could you pick other colors? Potentially? Multiple identities? Let's see. Talking about my country, dictatorship as a political refugee in music is common. Those sound interesting. Combining those sounds pretty cool. Should I mention my faith in Catholicism or Christianity? Good question, Patrick. So when you're writing about either religion or politics, so stigmatize just because someone might disagree with you. In fact, odds may be good that the person will disagree with you. I don't know. It depends on what your faith or your, we don't know. Who knows, right? But identifying the values that are important to you. I wouldn't say just make it like the Catholic essay, right, or the Christianity essay. But if you wanted to include a mention of faith because that's important to you, is that important to you because it connects to community or diversity or helping others is pretty common. That's kind of like what Christianity is about. But So I would maybe pick different uncommon connections. But you knew I was going to say that. Should I write about being sexually assaulted and harassed by a peer and how I overcame that? Maybe, Amanda. Run it through the feelings and needs exercise and see how that, see if it's one, if you've got a lot of what I did and what I learned from it. But also, like, I would say brainstorm montage possibilities just in case, because it could be that a montage allows you to talk about many other different sides of you. Ben, hey, I had trouble with my horse. Oh, nice. Great. Thanks. That was one we should have deleted. Does skimboarding and maybe booted? Will you just boot Ben? Thanks. Is Howard? Let's see what else. Should I have done an essay on my dad's stepbrother? He died before I was born. Probably not, because it's about someone else, and I really want to know about you. What are the challenges that have shaped you? But maybe not even challenges. Again, some of you have topics that sound like a challenge that could be interesting, but a montage is going to allow you to talk about many different sides of you. So I would nudge you to at least brainstorm montage topics. Let's see. Is being a vegetarian my whole life a common topic? Somewhat common, Catherine. Lawyer, somewhat common. Are there other questions you guys have besides topic selection? Because a lot of these, I want to make sure that I'm giving folks advice that's helping everyone. Underdog narrative essay topic. Oh, and yes, I'm going to talk about your essay in a little bit. In fact, let's just look at it right now because you're on. So here it is. Here's Owen's. 2009 was the worst year possible for me to start rooting for Washington State. Why? All of this losing made the last 11 months. I was a fan of the underdog. My whole life is like that. If there's an underdog, I'll be their biggest fan. So here's the topic, underdogs. Okay. And then the first underdog that's mentioned is 21-year-old brother. And here's what I've learned from him. My note to you was, could you make it less about him and more about you and the values that you've gained and make that shorter? And then soft spot for underdogs. Who are the other underdogs? It might be hard to come up with a bunch of examples of this, Owen. Can you come up with other examples? If you can, sure. And then helping young adults with any type of disability improve their ski skills. Potentially. You want to make sure if you focus on this, Owen, that it's clearly different from the values and skills that you developed in, being with and learning from your brother. And so just make sure that this paragraph is clearly different from this one. Also, I would suggest squishing these so that if you do this underdogs topic, making your opening shorter, taking the brother paragraph and making it shorter. So instead of, how long is it? It's probably about 250 words. What could you do in 100 words? But I would say, first of all, before you even do that, is brainstorm, can you come up with other underdogs that are going to show other sides of you? Because it's a cool idea and it demonstrates the quality of you supporting others. But can you name some others? And then potentially you might go midway and talk about misperceptions potentially that folks have had about underdogs, because I think it's easy to look at, someone, who, for example, has a disability as an underdog. But I think there are probably insights that you've developed that you could flip this and say, anyway, I'm pushing you to go a little more into the so what. And you can do that using the how to bring more insight into your essay in the montage section. Let me move this one up and then again, I want to make sure that they're learning about you more than these other people in your life. Okay. Oh, here's one more essay that I want to just quick show you. This is an example of, I said I was going to look at this one. So, okay. So I forget whose name this was, whose student this was, but look at the first sentence. As a kid, being accurate was my everything, and I mean everything. The structure of my house has a brick wall built to it. Countless hours of pain and sacrifice is the same way I do with school. There were secrets and cheat codes to bumping the ball and being accurate. In my classes, I was curious and wanted to understand the full spectrum of every content taught. So I had a little bit of trouble following this as I was reading it. So I asked this student to go through and do this flow exercise. Just to be clear, this is the one when you go into the FAQ. Oops, sorry. The table of contents. Scroll down. This is that editing for flow exercise where you highlight the first sentences in bold. And then the student wrote a new draft, and look at it now. As a kid, being accurate was my everything, and I mean everything. My obsession for being accurate led me to spend countless hours sharpening my perfection. countless hours of pain and sacrifice is the same way I do with school. In high school, I'm known as the tryhard who spends hours instead of having fun. My ambition for perfection didn't stop. I wanted to share what I learned with other people. Now here's the cool transition, right? Sharing with other people. In the fall of my junior year, I became an assistant coach. Cool in my classes, curious, wanted to understand all the content taught. And see how much clearer this is, y'all? It's kind of magical. And this took him like 2 hours because I emailed him and then he emailed me back within 2 hours. Beautiful. And then look at this. Surprise, I want to become a registered nurse. Make sure that your transition doesn't sound too much like the endodontics essay. You probably think I want to do this, but you're wrong. I want to be a registered nurse. I love this surprise. This is working really well. You might need to trim it just a little bit, but it's great. And you've got all these qualities. So I just want to congratulate you on taking these things, working really super hard, finding a topic that I think is going to work well for you. Nice job. Okay. What other questions do you have? I know there are a lot of questions about topics. Overcoming a speech impediment, somewhat common. Let's see. Stuffed animal or mac and cheese, a common topic? Not too common, but is it stretchy enough to talk about many sides of you, Sarah? Evolution of your identity? Yes, that's a very common. It's very general, so I would say find something more specific. Is it, I answered that one. Can I write about plants and how they're a different part of myself? Yeah, Caitlin, that sounds cool. If someone naturally speaks with advanced language, should they still avoid writing that way in their essay? Not necessarily, Miriam. So I think go for it. I mean, don't resist it if that's who you are. I'd say go for it. Let me just go back to this because it's a little bit more interesting to look at. A couple more minutes. And then I'm gonna do a surprise at the end in like 2 minutes. Those of the folks who logged off aren't going to be able to know what the surprise was. All right. Is being multicultural an uphill battle? No, that could be interesting. Go for it. The maximum word length, row heat, you can Google this, 650 words. But if you're doing Coalition app, it's more like 500. As a girl having a guy's nickname, would that be a good montage essay? I don't know. Georgina, try it. Create an outline and see if it can connect to many different sides. Shreya, are UC essays different from Common App ones? Yep, they are. So the personal insight questions, and this will be connected to, I'm going to do a whole nother boot camp in the fall where I'm going to work only on the personal insight questions. So again, get on the email list and make sure that you are receiving those because that's when you'll get the notice about that. But the personal insight questions are a whole different thing. If you want, just Google personal insight questions college essay guy, and you'll be able to see basically what my take is on those. But I'm going to do I don't know if it'll be a week long. It might be like a weekend boot camp on that. Let's see. Are there any ways to get scholarships for colleges that don't offer any? Not really, Mia, unfortunately. You kind of have to, there's a whole thing on, I'm going to be releasing a financial aid tool later this summer that'll walk you through financial aid stuff. But usually it's based on financial need and, the specific, but there will be a tool there for how to find those. Let's see. Indian classical dance is somewhat common, but how it helped you cope with getting bullied and made you a better athlete, those sound like great ways of making that more uncommon in Nanya. I like it. Health and fitness would be a pretty common topic. Let's see. Looking at a couple more. Think about writing a montage about my interest in nursing, how the New York Times made me realize this passion while including my values with this work. That sounds cool, Ella. How many essence objects are enough for a montage essay, Justin? I've seen 3 be enough in the My Desk essay, which you'll find in the essence objects section of the tool. So in this essay, the sample one here, there are only like 3 main ones. The laptop, the books, he mentions just one book, and then this bracelet. And he wrote a great essay, and this student ended up at Wharton, at Penn. So that could work. All right. If you go too many essence objects, it can be overwhelming. But I've seen the laptop stickers essay, for example, which is also in this one, uses, many more. It uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this has 9 essence objects, but it has a common theme. So for the essence objects essay, just to say this again once more to everybody, make sure that that it's clear what connects them. So in this case, they're all the same thing. Or in the My Desk one, These are all items on his desk. And if you're like, oh, that's already taken, you could do it. It's going to be maybe somewhat common, especially now that 2,000 people are hearing me say this. But so, and some of you are going to choose essence objects. So, will it be more common? Maybe. But use the essence objects. I've seen other students take the essence objects and be focused on like a particular one or a particular couple ones, and then they segued into like talking about other parts of themselves. So don't feel like you have to use this structure. Like, for example, the way this student structured it is like, very formulaic, very structured. It's like, here's the sticker, here's where it is, here's the value, and here's the insight. Like, that's a very way of doing that. If that doesn't feel good to you, don't use it. Use it, use the spirit of what this is, which is like, I'm showing different sides of myself, but I'm showing them in like really specific, concrete, visual ways. Okay. All right. So here's the surprise. So we're going to do a follow-up session in a month. And you can continue if you want to keep emailing your essays to that email address. I can't promise you that I'm going to get back to you. But every once in a while, over the next month, I'm going to just pop in there randomly and just to see how you're developing. Tips for getting me to look at your essay. The more clear, like if you just send me your workbook, I'm going to be like, well, I don't know where to look. But if you send me specific questions on here's the thing that you're looking for, that will be more likely to get me to respond. But again, that's going to be like, 5% of the essays or like 1%, depending on how many people do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of those that I'm seeing over the next month, and we're going to meet again and we'll talk about more examples. I'll hear how it's gone from y'all, and I'll do a little section on thinking ahead to your supplemental essays. Okay. Thinking ahead about the YS essay. So I'll probably spend the first 2/3 talking about personal statements, how you can continue to develop, checking in to see how things have gone. You know what I'm going to do? I just made this up right now. I'm going to send out a feedback form. And the way that you get access to the follow-up session is by filling out the feedback form. Does that sound good?
We'll give it to everybody.
We'll give it to everybody? All right. Devin says we can't do that. We have to give it to everybody. That would be too complicated. Okay. But still, please do the feedback form. That would be a great thank you. If you want to say thanks, one way to do it would be to fill out the feedback form. So that's the. I want to stay connected with y'all. I don't want you to lose contact. I want you to be able to keep working on these. Okay, we're like a minute away from the ending. So I want to say thanks. Thanks for working hard this week, and appreciate especially those of you who were willing to let us take a look at your topics. And I wish you the best. This is a great time. The summer is a great time to be working on these things. Continue to develop your college list so you have a sense of what those other essays are going to be. Sign up for the email list if you haven't, because that's how you'll find out about other things that I'm going to be doing coming up. And I wish you the best. If you want to come to the afternoon session, you're welcome to. Obviously, you're going to get emails with the recordings, so you can watch them there. But thanks for being here this week. And I wish you all the best. And I'll see some of you in a month. All right.